Welcome to my YouTube video here, and I hope you enjoy this sneaky marketing technique that's implemented on Google My Business and Google Maps. Is it legal? I don't know. It's fun though, isn't it? Let's get right into it. This is the technique in a nutshell. And in this video, I intend to break all these down in little segments as a full-on tutorial. So feel free, if you already understand how to do some of these things, feel free to skip in the chapter time code to jump to the point where you need to. First off, we're going to find an interesting object. We're going to shoot a great image of that object. We're going to edit that object post-production. Hopefully it's a 360 photo. We're going to watermark the image. We're going to post the image and repeat. Now, why are we doing this? Because we're going to upload this image anywhere there's free traffic so we can get better reach and optimization. We don't have to run pay-per-click ads all the time. There's billions of views every day on Google Maps. That's why we're doing it. There's a lot of eyeballs on Google, and I will show you some case studies on this video here of me reaching 40, 50, 60,000 people on one photo that's evergreen, that lives on Google because it's not a trend, it's not following the hype, it's not a trending topic, it's just there and it lives there until I delete it. This is a quick walkthrough. This is how I do it. Spherical, panoramic projection. And then I usually add my logo in there inside the image and bake it in. I'll show you an example of what that looks like on the screen here and why it's interesting enough to get a lot of people to click through to my website or post it on Google Maps in a local travel spot that gets a lot of attention and free organic impressions. So I'm out there shooting my drone, then I take all those photos, put it into a folder. So as you can see here, I have that entire folder of all the images that are unedited, just raw straight from the drone. Put that into one folder, and I go over here. I'm using Photoshop Beta, by the way. This is the new, it's got some new content aware fill, content aware features, so sometimes it's buggy, but it is beta testing. So I go down here to automate, and then I go down to photo merge. I will choose auto. I will choose folder. Hit browse. And then I'll go back to it's already selected, so that's the folder with all my images in there. Go back here one more time just to show you. Select that folder only, don't double click on it, then hit OK. And it'll load these images and populate this list. So I have about 20 something images. I leave all these on, I check all these tick boxes. Vignette, this is the black fringing around the edges. Geometric distortion, this is when stuff looks funky, it's going to try to fix it. And then content aware fill, transparent areas, is going to fill in any areas where the seams are and try to do its best to stitch it together. Sometimes I would choose spherical, but in this case I'm going to choose auto and just see what happens, and then I'm going to convert to a projection inside Photoshop. So I will click OK and let it do its thing. Alright, so now at this point, it has gathered all the images together, stitched them together in a spherical projection, and then merged all those images into one layer right there. So what I do, I use this layer to adjust and make any edits here. So I go up here, I like to choose the camera raw filter. Even though these are JPEGs, I just like the ease of use and the adjustability of camera raw. I usually shoot raw most of the time. So I go over here, bring up the dialog, make my adjustments. I usually just do a baseline noise reduction. And this one, since I'm going to boost the color, I'll go in here, I'll choose vibrance. Jack that thing up a little bit of saturation too. And a season to taste. This varies depending on what your picture is, what your images is. I like to boost the saturation. But I shoot a lot of landscapes, so for me this is what I like to do, but yours might differ. Then obviously make sure you're using proper monitor. Double check that on a monitor that it's color accurate. That looks good to me, so I'll hit OK. Give it a second. Now, with all that done, the next step that I do is go over here into the 3D menu. And I go down to spherical panorama, and I choose new panorama from selected layer, and I make sure that I'm on that merge layer right here, and this might take a second. Okay, now that I've done that, I have this orbit tool where I can move around in real time and see my projection as a 360 sphere. It looks like it's done a pretty good job. Now, this is different than using the 360 software and Insta360 cameras, because as it's on a drone, it's basically shooting all this on a plane. It's not shooting in every direction, up, down. It's shooting basically horizontal, and the drone is going around and shooting on one axis. So it may not be ideal in every situation. There are instances where you could put a 360 camera on a drone and take it up to shoot, but in this instance I was running out of time. I was just enjoying the sunset here and decided to shoot a spherical image, and I'm using the DJI app, so it's a preset, but it does a pretty good job in trying to calculate those, I guess you could say, angles of where that's pointing the camera. So it does a pretty good job of choosing to shoot in every direction and adjusting the gimbal, but I would say it is not as accurate or as perfect as a 360 camera like an Insta360. And this is notated by, if you look up to see the seams and the polar coordinates, things like this, polar to rectangular, I think they call this, but you can see there's a little bit of issues up here. However, it is possible that we can go back in here and fix this with using the content aware fill tool, and I might try that in a second. My computer might crash because this is a huge photo right now, but at this point what I'm just trying to get at is, like, I review the image and then I look around and see what needs to be fixed and try to fix that in Photoshop using the built-in tools, because knowing that the image is not perfect because it came from a drone and not a 360 lenses. And now I just go in here with the lasso tool, select my layer, and I will try to erase this line right here and smooth this out. And then I'll use a generative fill tool by right clicking on the selection, just hit generative fill, and I leave the box empty. This is the trick. Whoops, don't put in tab, and then just leave the box empty, and then it's going to do its best to mitigate that line. So smooth it out. Let's see what happens right here. Depends on the selection too. If you're too close to selection, or if you left some context in there, kind of does the same thing as the content aware fill by default. Let's see what happens. That's pretty good. That's not ideal, but for the sake of this purpose, it's pretty good. And then what you got to do, go down here to the layer selection, because if I were to move this photo spherical map around, that layer is still on top, and so if I were to move it, you could see that layer move. So for example, if I select this image here and then we were to move around, watch what happens to that patch we just made. See? So it's important, after you do this step, don't make this mistake. I'll hit Control Z to go back one step. So now we're basically going to burn this thing down into the layer. So if you make your retouch areas where you're brushing out the seams and stuff like that, what you want to do is drop this one down into this layer so it still has a spherical projection on it. So what you do is right click here, go down to merge down, and it basically is going to burn this fill layer down into the 3D projection. If it doesn't crash your computer. Okay. So now we're good to go. So now that's in there and we can move around, and as you can see, that's staying put. So that's good. And this is the secret sauce. I burned my logo into the image in a creative way. I put my logo in there, a smart object. I put it in a place that makes sense for that photo. I decrease the opacity a little bit here. So if people are looking at this image and think it's interesting and they're playing around with it on Google Maps, wherever they're looking at it, they must like it enough to be interested in it, to click on it and move around inside the image. So therefore I put my logo in here where it's unobtrusive, it doesn't ruin the image in my opinion, and it also gives me some free advertising. So people say, oh, integritydesign.us, let's check it out. Go to that website. If they like this type of image, they're going to probably see more of that same thing. So then I go over here, do the same thing we did with that patch layer, go over here and just choose merge down. Now watch. Now my logo is burned into the image and you can see it moving around in that image. So it's burned into the hillside right now. Maybe I could put it over here. Maybe I could delete that and put it over on this water tank or this water tower here, because then it would be unobtrusive. Let's see the top of this water tank. Yeah, right there. So that would be cool too. Why don't I just go ahead and do that? I'll drop another one in. And then this, it's up to you, but I use a ping image because it supports transparency. So I have a ping image. That way it's not cheesy. It's not extremely cheesy because it is transparent and it doesn't have a nasty white background. So that's something to keep in mind here. So then I'll just put my logo right here on top of this water tank because it's a flat plane. It's going to fit in there. I'll reduce the opacity again so at least people can see it and it's discernible. You could even zoom in. Ah yes, integritydesign.us. This is the best. So again, go back in here and I'll merge this layer down just like we did prior. Burn it into the image. Final steps, we want to make sure this layer is selected with our spherical projection. Go back up here to the tab and choose 3D, spherical panorama, and then export panorama. I'm going to close this dialog box and choose save to my computer. And now if you're looking at it and you saved it and you're like, what the heck is this? And you open that bad boy and you're like, what is going on here? You don't understand it. This is a equirectangular projection with the spherical map burned into it. That's the best and easiest way I could describe it without getting too technical. And so what happens from this point, you're looking at it like it doesn't make sense, but this is exactly how it works with 360 photos on platforms that support it. So for example, this is what I did for a friend of mine that owns this bike shop right here. If you're in Costa Mesa, you should choose this bike shop for freestyle BMX. But check this out. Go to the photos. I shot this photo right here, equirectangular in a 360. So now you can zoom around in here. You can look on the shelves. You can see his inventory. You can move all around the image. And it's a very interesting marketing tool that brings people into your ecosystem, brings them into your store. They want to find out more about your restaurant or your service, whatever you do. You can share the inside of a building and show details and features inside of the store. It's also very SEO and organic search friendly because it helps you update your Google My Business profile. The more content you have here in the eyes of Google, the more information and the more valuable you are to your potential customer. And so check this out, just as a case study, I'm an active contributor on Google Maps. As much as I don't care for Google, they do have some cool features when it comes to some of this stuff. So as you can see from an SEO perspective here, Google used to have, I don't know, they still do rewards and they still give points for people to help contribute to their maps and upload photos and images and things like this. That I don't care too much about. I'm using it for a marketing tool, and this is a clandestine type of thing that people aren't really paying attention to. But for example, I uploaded this is just a video, but I uploaded this video less than a week ago. It's got 1,000 views, and if you were to watch that video, well, what happens right here, I got my watermark and my website right here. So for example, the same image that I showed you with the bike shop, here's what you can do and take a look. This is just a natural park, like a gazebo in the middle of Irvine, and check this out, 12,000 views on this one. And what's that right there? Oh yeah, it's a 360 projection with my logo and my website right there. So the aesthetics and the purist, if you're trying to share the image, you don't want your watermark in there, well, I guess you have to consider what's important. Somebody finding your business online without you having to spend ads on it or being smart about it. Perhaps I could have put the logo right here in the rafters or something. That might have been cool. Or I could still put it right here. You could just use text, but at any rate, this is a contributing thing, so you're spending time on producing this artwork, and so if you're going to give over any rights or intellectual property or anything like this, you might as well put your logo on there. It's like going to prevent people from stealing it, and a lot of people are going to see it. So this is just one example, and I highly recommend that you try to do this. And if you need help doing something like this, as you can see, I have a lot of different videos with over 10, 15, 20,000 on some of these things here, all doing the same type of concept, a 360 photo, burning in your logo into the image, and just being smart about it. If there's places like this one in Dana Point right here, 44,000 views when this one's posted a 360 image, and so where's my logo? Well, you have to scroll around to find it. And so by the time you get 3/4 around to this cave or whatever, oh, it's right there. I see it. There it is. So it's interesting. And this one I've done in a little different way, just using text. But as you can see, people are going to take the time to move around and look at stuff on these photos. So it's kind of interesting that you can enjoy the photo here and then get hit with that logo because you're interested. How did they do that? Maybe I'll check his website out, see what else he could do, see if he could do it for me, right? So that's kind of interesting. At any rate, this is what I have to show you of a clandestine marketing tactic that does work. You could see based on the numbers, at least some of these people are going to click through to the website. Out of 40-something thousand on that photo, at least a couple people have clicked through. If you're tracking your metrics, you'll know where these people are located perhaps. So if you don't have a 360 camera, most of the smartphones can't do it, but you could shoot something interesting like a panorama shot. But if they don't have a 360 lens, you really can't shoot 360 photo or video. So on this slide I go over several options, and then I will leave links in the description and the show notes. And if you want to download a PDF of this technique so you can have it, there's a link in the description. Oh yeah, so this option right here, Kodak Pix Pro Orbit 360, is probably one of the cheapest 360 cameras on the market. I haven't used this one in particular, but it looks like it has NFC. I don't know if it's waterproof, but it'll get the job done. And it's a small compact little device, but it doesn't have a screen, so you can view the image immediately after. So that's probably why it's one of the more affordable ones on the market. Now this one claims to have waterproof features, Wi-Fi built in, so you could transfer the images right to your phone perhaps. And you're going to need a selfie stick because when you shoot a 360 image, you're going to have a nadir point, or basically an access point that's going to be stitched out. So you need to hold it from the center in between the lenses so it can remove the stick that you're holding it. Option 3, the GoPro Max. Now this is one of my favorite cameras, even though I don't have it. I love the GoPro because the GoPro cameras have a great user interface and experience when you connect it with your app. They also have a good app for editing 360 photos that allows you to choose keyframes. It works really well, better than most of the other ones. And they're tried and tested. They're one of the oldest action cameras on the market, so you can't go wrong with the GoPro. However, if you can't afford this price point, then maybe it's not within your budget, you might want to consider the other options that are in the link in the description. And lastly, this is the brand that I use for the 360 photos. There's an Insta360 X3. This one's waterproof. It has a built-in screen, and this kit right here comes with a selfie stick and some other things, but Insta360 takes a great photo. The app is pretty good, how it can automate a lot of things for you. And if you're looking to do a lot of this type of content, I would say this is the camera that you should be interested in. I personally have one. I personally have this model right here. It's an Insta360 that's a modular setup, and it has this Leica lens right here. And I can swap this one out and implement a 360 lens if I choose to, because it's modular and it comes apart in pieces. You can put different lenses on there. I love it. Obviously it has its caveats and drawbacks on some of these things, but this is the one that I use. And I would say it's more professional-ish than the other ones. They're more consumer friendly on the other side, but this one is more professional, where it gives you more adjustability and manual control. So if that is something you are interested in, click the link to find out more about it. And so I focus more on digital marketing. So the photography, yes, photography, photos, videos, and images are important, but it's also important to know how to market those things, how to sell those things, how to reach your right audience and reach the right people at the right time with the right message. So yes, photography is awesome. It's a great hobby. It's fun. But if you want to engage with more people, you're not familiar with how to run traffic and how to do pay-per-click ads on Facebook or Instagram, and you want something that's evergreen, for example, in these Google Photos here in this contribution system, well, these are evergreen. This is the caves at Dana Point, and this is an awesome location if you ever get the chance to go there. I highly recommend it. But it's not a fad. It's not a daily news update or something like this. It's not a Facebook ad where you have to spend X amount of dollars per day that's based on a trend. This is something that could be here for many years. You could see this one I posted, looks like October in 2020, So over the last 3 years, this one's just accumulating 40,000 views over time as people come to search Dana Point. So think about how you could use this in your business, and if you need help trying to set this thing up, or you want to schedule a strategy call to devise a marketing strategy, or just reach out and say hi or say thanks or something like that, please feel free to view my website, send me a message, and I'd love to hear from you. If you're looking for more content like this, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel. And I tend to make more videos to help people in their marketing and get the word out there of different ways that they can help their customer selling their product, good, or service. I'll see you in the next video.